Hi, we're just past Midsummer 2020 and it's raining today. As you can see by the umbrella, we've had a really long dry stretch and it's been a great summer so far. But today I'm going to be in the greenhouse and I'm going to be in the greenhouse with Dave Bibby. You know, if you've got a greenhouse or a polytunnel, you have to water it, and that can take time or it can take infrastructure. And if you get a long dry stretch and you're off grid for water, well then that also can be a bit of a problem. But Dave has a plan. Well, in fact, Dave's better than a plan. He's actually implemented a plan. So let's go and see what he's done. So here's Dave's greenhouse. Let's go and see if he's in. Hi Dave!
Oh hi, hello there Lisa.
I've caught you in the greenhouse.
I am having my Bob flower dew moment.
Aha!
I've been advised to trim the lower leaves off my tomatoes. But they don't look like they're doing very much good, so I'm taking them off.
Well, this looks amazing in here. Look at this bed. Wow! What a courgette! Look at that!
It's a monster.
It is!
It's too big. This I think maybe it's just too rich for it there.
So Dave, tell me, what are you doing here? Tell me about this bed you've got.
Okay, this one on this side is a self-watering bed.
Self-watering?
So it's basically like a pond. The bottom of this bed, the whole thing is plastic lined, and there's water in the bottom and gravel above that. Well, the water's sitting in the gravel, and then the soil's on top, so the whole thing may be 2 foot deep, but the bottom of it is all water. So the plants are fed, the water's all from underneath.
Okay.
I don't water it from the top.
Wow.
At all.
Okay, so where do you water it?
Okay, at the minute, you can see it's pissing down, it's raining heavily, and the water's getting collected in the gutter out there along that edge. It goes down in that corner, there's a black pipe, just outside you see a black pipe. That takes the water down and into the bottom of this channel. So it comes all the way along here.
Just a minute. So can we go and look at the guttering and see how that works?
Well, yeah, sure. It's pretty simple.
Well, most greenhouses don't have a gutter, so I just thought...
Right, well this is built in already.
Oh, it's just a little lip on the edge of the...
And the water comes in and goes down this pipe, which runs down here, and then it goes in to the greenhouse, and the pipe feeds all the way to the far end. And when it's full to whatever level I want, it comes out this end, and when it's overflowing, it will overflow out of here. If I lower that, that's the level of the water inside. So I can raise the level of the water by lifting this pipe up, and it won't overflow until it gets to the top of that pipe. So if you want to raise that, you can have a lower water level by leaving it there, or a higher water level by lifting it up.
Wow, that's genius. So this pipe...
This is inlet. This takes it in.
And does the actual pipe go up to the other end of the bed?
Yeah, it goes right to the far end.
And then it lets the water into the bed?
Yeah, but then you get the effect of the water moving all the way through the bed, so it tends to keep it from getting stagnant.
Okay.
If it was just going in there and then coming out here, the water at the far end wouldn't ever move. So the water's flowing through when it rains.
Because of this?
Yeah. So this outlet is at this end, the inlet is at the far end.
Okay.
So it runs all the way underneath through the gravel. When it reaches this end, it can flow out.
Great.
So it's a circular thing, isn't it? It moves around in there. It's not getting stagnant.
So let's have a look at the construction in here.
Can I show you this?
Yes.
This sort of makes sense of it. You see that area there, right? There's a...
Aha.
No, it's not a bucket. It's a dustbin with no bottom in it. So that goes all the way down to the bottom of the whole bed. I'll put a stick in it.
Bit below the gravel, you mean down to the bottom?
Yeah, so put a stick in it. Right, that's how much water we've got in there at the moment, about 7 inches of water or something like that.
Okay.
And I can raise that or lower it with that pipe outside. And then you can see on top of that there's about 10 inches of soil.
Right, yes, yeah, you can see, yeah.
So everything gets its water from below
And I suppose you could also water it through this
Yeah,
hole.
yeah. If you want to add any feed, you can put some liquid feed in there, or if you want to top it up, put a hose pipe in there. Yeah. I've had to do that because it's been quite a hot, dry summer.
Yes.
And if you don't have any rain, this amount of plants will take a lot of water. So I found I had to water it every couple of weeks. But that's all right for a greenhouse. Most people with a greenhouse are watering them every day, aren't they? And it's a bit of a curse. You can't go on holiday. If you miss a couple of days, everything's struggling. So one day I forgot to open the doors, and it was 40 degrees in here when I came back. But everything was fine because they've got their feet in the water. This is not my idea. I got it off a place called Tanneron, but it's not an original idea. But you know, it's quite common in America. In America, they call them wicking beds.
Okay.
And here it's self-watering beds. There's something on the permaculture website about it.
Okay. So let's just talk a little bit more about the construction.
Okay.
Because here I can see that you've actually got what's this?
This is builder's plastic. This is like a...
Is that called DPM?
Yeah, damp-proof membrane. It's heavy gauge damp-proof membrane.
Okay.
Anyone who's into building will know there's different gauges of this stuff. So you can get a thin one, but that's a thick one. And the main thing is you don't want to pierce it. So here's a scaff plank, which is protected by the plastic on one side, and on this other side it's open and dry, so it's not going to rot. And if you look down here, that's the bottom of the scaff plank. Below that is a trench. All the way along I dug a trench. So there's only that bit of wood there, that's the only piece of wood. So basically I've dug like a pond, lined it with plastic, put an inlet and an outlet, and the bottom of 6 inches or so is gravel.
And on top of the gravel soil.
Yeah, but in between you need something to stop the soil or just washing down into the gravel. So there's all sorts of different things. I happen to have a load of broken slate, roofing slate, small pieces. So I laid that on top of the gravel, and then I put a layer of wood chips, and then another layer of broken slate, and that made like a sandwich of. It's protection. It stops the soil washing through, but also, if anyone comes in here and thinks they're doing me a favour by sticking a stick in to prop something up, they're not going to go through the membrane. They're going to hit the slate. So it's kind of, that's the one thing that will kill it, is if someone pierces it. And I know from experience with ponds, there's always be someone come along with a stick and go, "Ooh, how deep is this?" So you can't actually pierce that unless you had something serious.
And so does the inlet pipe come through the gravel or the soil?
The inlet pipe's through the gravel. It's at the very bottom. It's the first thing that goes in. Plastic liner, and then the inlet pipe comes all the way to this end. And
the gravel's how deep?
About 5 or 6 inches, I think.
And then how much soil have you got?
Well, 10, 12 inches maybe. It kind of varies. At this point it's about 10.
Yeah.
You've got to get it level, because of course water will always find out if it's not level, and you get a boggy, one end will be boggy. So it's got to be horizontal. Water comes in there, migrates underneath, comes out of that side, and basically that's it. And this soil, I haven't fed these at all. This soil looks really dry, like an ordinary greenhouse. On the top it's dry, and as you go down you get into moisture, and as you get right down it does actually get, that's actually holding together, that soil. That shows there's quite a lot of moisture in it, and I'm only 3 or 4 inches down. So by the time you get 8-10 inches down, it's actually totally water.
I saw when you just planted these plants earlier in the year, and I'm amazed at the speed and how big they've grown.
I know, they're 5 foot or more, aren't they? And there's peppers. I've never grown a pepper in my life. These plants have got peppers on them.
And we're not even out of June.
No, and the aubergines down there are definitely fruiting. So all I've got in here is aubergines, peppers, tomatoes, and this big courgette, which...
Yeah, that's a giant.
I had to cut this back because but we're getting, it's 3 or 4 courgettes a day of that.
And when did it start fruiting?
About 3 weeks ago, so beginning of June. It's quite good, isn't it, for Wales?
And when did you put it in?
I'm not sure. Can't remember now.
That's very early
It's not,
to fruit.
it's not been
beginning
in
of
very
June.
long. It grew. It's massive, isn't it? It's too big, really. It's taken over all the peppers.
Yeah.
But yeah, I'm really pleased. Like I said, I've never grown a pepper. That one's getting quite decent size. And the aubergines are flowering nicely. I think they'll fruit. And you know, I planted carrots in between just to see what happens. There might be, because they'll get their roots right down into the water. They might just come up when the aubergines are finished. I can leave them in here. I don't know. It's all a bit of an experiment, but it seems to be going quite well.
It is going well. It's amazing.
And I'm gonna be like the tomato king of Clonlufflin. Aren't I? What am I gonna do with them all?
Well, you can invite me around.
Well, I'll be giving a lot away. And someone said you can make passata with it, and you know, put some basil in or something and make some like a puree. So I'm imagining I'm going to find out about how to preserve it. But first of all, I'll just be giving them as much away as I can.
And so in here also, on the other side, you have more traditional beds.
Yeah, this was just to see what the comparison is. So there's some melons and some Romanesque cauliflowers and a few onions and things. But they're not doing brilliantly. They're fine. I think this would be the normal progress in a greenhouse. But because they're getting water from the top, I don't think they make the right root systems. I had to move a couple of these peppers that are in the watering bed, self-watering bed, and the root systems were enormous. The root systems on the little the peppers when they were about a foot tall, I had to move 2 of them, and the root ball was about a foot in diameter. I'd expect something about that big. It brought up that much soil with it, so they're rooting profusely. And you know, if the soil's good, there's lots of compost in it. I think it's a winning combination, isn't it? You've got lots of light, warm. It's always warm. There's no frost. They don't never go short of water, and there's lots of food in the soil. It's just, how can it not work?
Yeah.
Unless there's some sort of pest could arrive. I don't know. I think you've got to be careful with mould. But it doesn't feel wet in here, does it?
No,
the atmosphere's quite dry.
The atmosphere is comfortable, yeah.
The ground's very dry, and it's pouring down outside, but it's not. Doesn't feel like a sluggy sort of mildewy environment. I think it's going to work.
So can you tell me about Tanivron, because
yeah.
You were saying that inspired you.
Well, I knew I'd heard that Wayne and Di and some of the guys at Tanivron had set up a self-watering polytunnel, and because it seemed like such a good idea, but I went to visit and have a look, and I went there and it was January or February this year. It was really cold and wet, horrible. We went in and it was fantastic in there. It felt full of life right at the beginning of the year. So they've got, the whole thing is a self-watering bed, and down the middle they have a walkway with slats, and you can see the water through the walkway. And there's frogs living in there. They reckon the frogs eat the slugs. The whole thing is like humming with life. And I really like this look of what they've done there, but I think, in all honesty, you really need a mini digger and start. So I'd already had this building, and I'm not going to get a mini digger in up that slope and through that glass door. So I thought I would just do half a size. I didn't see any need to have water in the middle. To me, the water's for the vegetables. I mean, having frogs is great, but there are plenty of ponds around here and there are frogs. They probably can't get through that door. Anyhow, I was quite inspired by them, and you know, it's not a common thing around here, but since I've done this, 2 other people are doing it. A guy next door is doing one, and Phil and Beck's doing one. And I think it's going to catch on, because what a great thing, you don't have to water it. It's watering itself, and that means you can go on holiday. You don't have to ask your neighbours to water your greenhouse. Plus everything seems to really like it. And one of my friends was telling me there are certain plants that don't like to be watered from the top. They really, and these tomatoes and aubergines and peppers apparently are plants that like to be watered from underneath. So you can't do that. unless you do a system like this, can you? You know, it means the roots are always on the surface, and then if you get a really hot day, or you forget to water, they're going to struggle because they've got no depth. So it seems, so far, touch wood, everything is good. It's growing fantastically, and I'm expecting a massive crop.
So, any plans to do it on the other side of
Yeah,
the
definitely.
greenhouse?
Yeah. I think what I'll do is I'll do 2 small hydroponic. I'm calling it a hydroponic bed. I don't know if it really is, but it's sitting in water, so self-watering. Yeah, I'm going to do one here and one there, but I'm going to keep a space in the middle because it's a nice big greenhouse. I'd like to have a space to sit. I don't really like greenhouses where you're just restricted to one little passageway.
So what is the size of the greenhouse here, David?
This one is 18 foot by 12 foot and came off eBay. I was going to get a polytunnel. I bought a polytunnel, in fact it's out there. But I was really struggling with the concept of buying all the plastic. And when I talked to the polytunnel company about recycling the plastic, they've not got any great ideas going on. It just seems to me it's a lot more plastic that you're bringing into the world. Whereas glass can, you know, in the building trade, you can get windows that are 100 years old. The glass is still okay. So I thought I'll go for a greenhouse, and I got it off eBay for 200 quid.
Lets in more light too, doesn't
They
it?
do let in more light, and you can see the sky through it, and you can ventilate it easy with roof windows. I mean, I'm not against polytunnels, but I do think people who were really conscious about pollution should think about what's going to happen to the plastic, because it's a big piece of plastic. And you do have to change it every 7 or 8 years. I mean, I don't expect to change this glass ever, unless that tree falls on it, in which case it'll be a disaster. I have got plastic panels in the wall there, because I ran out of glass, but that's quite good.
Well, thanks, Dave. That's been absolutely brilliant and
All
an
right.
inspiration.
Yeah,
I'm
no
sure
problem.
there'll be more people doing it.
I think it's a good idea, yeah. And the more food we grow, is the better we'll feel, I think.